Lexi Newell and our wonderful bat mitzvah, Emma Posner, and her family will be leading our worship on this Shabbat. If you're new to Zoom, you can check in with our Zoom host, whose name is Mark, and he will be glad to help you with any questions that you have. In order to do that, you go to the little box that says chat on your Zoom and just write a message to TBO host. And he will help with any questions you might have. In a few moments, we are going to take you into breakout rooms where you will be placed with 4 or 5 other people from our service, and we'll invite you to introduce yourselves to them. All you have to do is turn on your mic and talk to them, and then as you're placed back into our worship service, you will be muted, and we do ask that you remain on mute during our worship service this evening. So take a moment now that I have shared all the technology, and let the technology just fall by the wayside. Imagine yourself here in this sanctuary with me and Zemer Lexi. Imagine that Shabbat has come because it is coming. It is before us as we enter into the space of our community, the time of Shabbat, the celebration of this day of wonder and day of rest. We'll turn in our prayer books to page 20 and 21 for Lakado D. If you don't have a prayer book, you can look in the chat and press on the link to get our flipbook prayer book and join with us in our worship side by side with the Zoom picture. Lakado D, pages 20 and 21, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Shabbat, Shamar v'zachor v'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el chamiyochad, Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, shemu tiferet v'litila, lechadoni likalei yalanai 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 b'nei Shabbat, nikabela. Shalom, עטרת בנה, גם בשמחה ובצונה, תוק אמוני, עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי
So as we welcome the Sabbath bride, so we welcome Shabbat with the kindling of light and the blessing over the wine. We turn in our prayer books to page 2 and welcome Emma's parents, Paul and Jennifer Posner, along with her brother Alexander, to join in leading the blessings together.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And the Kiddush can be found on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ava uvratzon inchilanu, zikaron lemaseh bereshit. Ki hu yom techila lemikrai kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Ki banu bacharta, ve'otanu kitashta, mikol amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu. Baruch et Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim. And now as we say L'chaim and drink in the sweetness of Shabbat, we will go to those breakout rooms where we will welcome one another and share in the sweetness. I want you to introduce yourself and just in a few words say something that brings you sweetness, even in the face of these difficult times.
Rabbi, you're sideways again. You're sideways again. Yeah, we can't see you the right way, Rabbi. So, no. No. It's sideways, Rabbi. You may just have to just physically move the camera or the phone. There you go. Perfect. Perfect.
We'll continue on page 26 with the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgedal v'yitgeda shemei Rabbah, v'yamad v'yirach yirutei v'yamlech malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, bagala, uv'izman kariv, vehimeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'alam u'le'almaya, yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei l'kudesha borechu, le'elam inku birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, Damin ran be'alma ve'imeru amen.
And now we turn to page 28 in our worship for the call to worship the Baruch Hu. You can rise if you are able, or if not, in front of your screen. Feel free to remain seated. As we continue in our worship, we'll go from the Baruch Hu straight to the Ma'ariv, and then invite our Bat Mitzvah to continue in leading us in worship.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך
Page 30. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidraro ba'ariv aravim b'chokma poteach she'arim ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim.
And we continue now on page 34 with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
We continue on page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha ve'chol levavcha uve'chol nafshecha uve'chol meodecha ve'chayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinatam levanecha ve'dibarta bam V'shivdecha b'veitecha, uv'lechtecha v'derech, uv'shochbeha u'kumecha, uv'kshartam leot al yadecha, v'chayu latotafot b'neinecha, uv'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uv'isharecha, leman tiskeru, v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'yitem kedoshim leloheihem. Ani Adonai Eloheihem, asher hotzeiti ethem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lehiot lehem Elohim. Ani Adonai Eloheihem. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet.
And now we turn to page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Micha Mocha, page 40.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא תהילות, oh, say, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נוגע תהילות, עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, חוקי הים לפני משה, זה ליאנו ויאמרו, זה ליאנו ויאמרו,
On page 42, we turn now as our thoughts turn to the evening. And that shelter of peace, we ask that God spread over us on this night.
Ashkireinu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Hamileinu Shomreinu Lechaim Ashkireinu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Hamileinu Shomreinu Lechaim. May the angels ever be on your right side and your left, above you and below you. May they keep you safe from harm, away from all evil. May they stay with you throughout the night, until you see the morning, until you see the morning light. Ashkireinu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Hamileinu Shomreinu Lechaim. Ashkireinu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Hamileinu Shomreinu Lechaim. Hamileinu Shomreinu Lechaim.
On page 44, we have Vishamru, our blessing, admitting that it is upon us to guard the Sabbath, to protect Shabbat. Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל לא אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת שבת ויהי נפל שבת, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת, שבת ויהי נפש.
Now we turn to those central prayers of our worship, the tefillah, the prayers that petition God's presence into our lives. And so let us invite God in with full hearts, with full hands, with prayers ringing out We'll chant from pages 46 through page 52.
Adonai sepetai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sepetai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu bimotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor VaNorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקודני הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו ואהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחייך הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 57. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha, b'yirah na'avod. And so in thanks, we turn now to page 60 as we complete our tefillah with words of peace. Shalom Rab.
Shalom Rab, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rab, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki atah melech Adon, לכו השלום, וטוב בעיניך יברך אותך ישראל, כל עת ולשעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. Shalom Rab al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam.
And now let us pause and open our hearts for silent prayer, for this is a space where we can let God in.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
I know I am among good company when I say that I feel a cloud of malaise weighing down almost everything I do these days. I've talked to many who feel the same way. Looking back on the day, you feel like you have done so much, and yet you have gotten so little done. Everything is open-ended. Most precisely, time is open-ended. The COVID pandemic has put time into a warp. The days before COVID feel like eons ago, and the prospects of slugging through season after season safer at home feels unending. Intellectually, we know that the pandemic will not last forever, and yet we also know that many will not make it to the other side of its wrath. We can project that we will be in this pandemic for the better part of a year, even for those not in the vulnerable categories for the disease and those who can economically bear the brunt of the shutdowns. It feels grueling. How much more so for those who feel the looming fears of both medical and financial devastation. We are feeling this anxiety with a pandemic that we know will pass one way or another in the next year or so. Imagine the foreboding the Israelites who knew that they had 40 years of wandering in the desert. Yes, they had manna to eat and God's cloud to lead them by day and God's fire by night. Nonetheless, they felt defeated and listless. In this week's Torah portion, Korach, the Israelites, find that their despondence comes to a head. The portion follows on the heels of the 12 scouts who went to spy upon the land of Israel. 10 came back reporting there was no hope for Israel among the giants of that land. Only 2 scouts, Joshua and Caleb, believed that the land of their hopes, the land of their ancestors, is within reach. Rabbi Noah Farkas compares it to our day, saying, they, like us, become restless. They devolve into open rebellion. Korach, the leader of the rebellion, comes to Moses and says, you have gone too far, Moses. Everyone in the community is holy, and the Lord is among them. Why do you raise yourselves up above the Lord's congregation? It sounds eerily familiar, doesn't it? Who are you to tell me I can't open my business? Nobody is going to tell me I have to wear a mask. Even the faithful have gotten into the mix. God will judge who can worship when and where, not politicians. Don't stamp on my freedom of religion. Korach voiced the restlessness that the masses felt. Who are you, Moses, to decide what offerings are made to God? The rabbis of the Midrash felt Korach's sense of jealousy and entitlement. They imagined these words coming out of Korach's mouth. You, Moses, took the rank of royalty for yourself, and you handed the priesthood to your brother. Rabbi Farkas conjectures it would be simple to understand Korach's rebellion as jealousy and a power quest, but it goes much deeper than that. Consider Korach's words before calling out. He says, everyone in the community is holy and the Lord is among them. Farkas parses here the language saying, this is what really matters. Korach astutely echoes the words of God back to Moses and Aaron based on the book of Exodus. But like all echoes, the words are distorted. In Exodus, God says, you shall be to me a nation of priests, a holy nation. Look carefully. In Exodus, becoming a holy nation is something that is set in the future. You shall be to me holy. The Torah's language is always laconic. Every word is intentional. And here it says, you shall be a holy nation. Holiness is not something you are. It is something you become. Holiness is a dream, an aspiration, a calling to the future. Leviticus makes the clearest case for holiness. There it says, you shall become holy because I, the Lord your God, am holy. You are not born holy, but you can aspire to holiness. Like the horizon line, holiness is always situated in the future because it is that dream of a vivid, life-affirming place we all want to go and to do what God gives for us for our lives to have meaning. Korach distorted Exodus by saying that everyone is already holy. Korach's rebellion is not just one of power, but one of entitlement. And by shifting the state of holiness from the future to the present, Korach in effect gives up the dream of what tomorrow might be. The future in Korach's eyes doesn't matter, only winning matters. Claiming holiness in Korach's eyes becomes the tool for him to achieve power instead of power being utilized to bring about holiness. Korach's anxiety and malaise lead him to lay claim to what he wants, not to what is right for the community. Holiness is not to be claimed like a prize, but rather attained through our consistent yearning to behave in the ways God teaches us. Korach's small-mindedness comes in the face of the prospect of 40 years of wandering in the desert. The small-mindedness prevailing in America today is over the prospect of not 40 years, not even 40 months, and yet how impatient we grow. Korach has a critical lesson to teach us for these times. The pandemic will not be conquered by our lofty claims to be above its fray. We are not so holy as to be beyond its reach. Rather, ours is to strive for the holy amidst the profane, to find the window to God's holy presence during these difficult times. That is why we gather on Shabbat. That is why we share in ritual together. That is why we reach out in Tikkun Olam to heal our world, to allow the sacred to lift us and fortify us and give us the will to face the challenge with the strength of our community, supporting one another and supporting a world that strives to uphold the sanctity of life. Now is the time to pray with all our hearts for deliverance from the plague upon us. And now is the time to work with all our strength to live out God's call to strive toward holiness when the world is at its most profane. Amen. And for a little glimpse of holiness on this Shabbat, I would like to spotlight Arlene and Mike Pike, who are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary this weekend. I want to lift up the blessing, Arlene and Mike, that you bring to one another first and foremost, because I know that when you look into each other's eyes, God is there. God is present. There is holiness in that moment. And there has now been holiness in 50 years of your sharing your lives together. And so it is my honor, my privilege to be here with you and to have you before our congregation as an example of, God willing, what we might strive toward in loving one another and creating a family with children and grandchildren here playing at your feet, singing your praises. So many simchas you have celebrated at Temple Beth Or, and what joy to have this one with you. So I asked Emmer Lexi to join me in offering the priestly benediction just as you received it at your wedding 50 years ago.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka.
May God's countenance shine upon you and be loving to you.
Adonai panav elecha ve'asem lecha shalom.
May your light continue to radiate as one and shine before us as it has for these 50 years as a symbol of God's blessing upon you. May you together continue to make peace and know peace. Amen.
Amen.
And as we say Mazel Tov to you, we know this marriage really has lasted, because not only has it lasted 50 years, but all of these days shut down together during this pandemic. So Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov.
Thank you.
As we share in blessings, so too do we turn to those who face illness in their lives. These members of our own congregation and those that you add in our chat room for our prayers for healing. Sue Brim, Betty Cross, Sharon Davis, Harav Yisrael Gadal Ben Batya, Dave Griffith, Anita Lederer, Jim Laurie, Wendy Newby, Candy Paul, Rudy Pariser, Jackie Schlesinger, Laura Stein, Bruce Wayne, Alan Weinberg, and Abel Zalkberg. And so we add to that all of those who are facing the illness of COVID, all of those who have been named by those in our community this evening, and all of those who are facing the oppression of racism, holding back their lives and not allowing them to be fully part of our freedom, of the freedom of this world of humanity. We say, Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim, blessed are you, O God, who is the source of healing for body and soul. Be with us and will us to be part of the healing. Amen.
Dear God of our ancestors, help us renew our faith. Grant us a perfect healing. Bring peace to all our days. El
And now we turn to the words of the Aleinu on page 282, joining our voices together, seeking God's healing presence for all of our world as our hands and our hearts turn toward God.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלוקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Page 291. There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we love. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest nights, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We call to mind at this time the recent passing of Siegbert Siggy Lowy, John Yellen, and Robert Zucker. And we mark the yard site, the anniversary of passing of Martin Ben-Gad, Ben D. Buckman, Reba Cutler, Betty Darer, Morty David, Dorothy A. Fleischman, James P. Foley, Naomi Geffen, Max Jackson, Michael Lee Kilman, Arthur Lerman, Madeline McHugh, Lawrence Mittag, Lila V. Myers, Helene Posner, Virginia M. Rosefield, Edward Rosel, Esther Marcus Rubenstein, John Schreiber, Louis Seltzman, Ruth Posner Seltzman, Lena Shapiro, J. Arthur Stein, Joseph Welsh Strauss, Leopold Waldenberg, Rebecca Weinstein, Harry Weinstein, Philip F. Zucker, and Abraham Zucker. For all of those we've named, for all of those whose names that you have added to the chat that you are remembering on this Shabbat, for all who have given their lives for blessing. We say Zikronam Livracha, may their memories be a blessing. We turn to page 294 and lovingly recite the Kaddish in their name. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra kirute ve'almich malchute, v'chayachon u'vyom echon u'chaye dekol beit Yisrael, b'hagala u'bizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam omei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yita'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, Vitadar, Vitalev, Vitalal, Shemei de Kudusha, Brichu. Leila minko birchata vishirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mruma, huya asei shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and all Israel, and let us say together, amen. And we pause now for a moment for announcements from our board member, Ken Sinek.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm Ken Sinek, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to say it is so great to see us coming together as a community through our online Shabbat services. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if there is anything at all you need, anything. You can do so through the temple's website, www.tboraleigh.org, or send me a private chat message right now. A special mazel tov to Emma Posner, who becomes bat mitzvah tomorrow morning at 10:30. I hope you can join us online for that special occasion as well. And an extra mazel tov to the Pikes on 50 years. Thank you all for helping make TBO such a special place for all of us, a community both in person and virtually. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, and we move now to our closing song.
Page 340. Hebenu Shalom Aleichem. Hebenu Shalom Aleichem. Aleichem Hebenu Shalom. Hebenu Shalom Aleichem. Aleichem Hebenu Shalom.
Adonai Eloheinu, as you have brought us into this Sabbath day, let us live into its holiness. Let us live into the blessing that Shabbat brings as we renew ourselves and renew our world. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Feel free now to unmute yourselves and to share a big group Shabbat Shalom together.
Shabbat Shalom. Good job.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Good to see everybody.
Thank you, Lexi. Thank you,
Shalom, Candy.
Thank you, everybody.
Shabbat
Shalom, Susan.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Congratulations to the Pikes. Shalom, everybody.
Mazel tov to the Pikes.
Shabbat shalom, Ken.
Shalom, Jennifer. Shabbat shalom, Matt.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Ken.
Hi, Ira. Hi, Eli Maria. Hey, Maxine.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hi, Michael. Hi, Sue. Hi, Susan.
Jennifer.
Hi, Jamie.
Oh, it's so good to see all of you.
Oh, yeah. Bye.
Very good
Be well.
service. Thank you, Lexi. Thank you, Rabbi.
If I mention the name Sophia, would you recognize
Lexi's doing all right.
Eli's on
Jamie.
That's your last name
Mazel
now.
tov to the Pikes.
Eli, from you.
Oh, hi,
You must
Candy.
be big.
Ira.
Can you hold her up? At this
Hi,
moment?
Betty.
Funny,
Betty, you're still
Ira.
muted.
All good babies do.
Betty, you're still muted. Where'd she go?
In some foil to bring over to
Christy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
See you back
shalom.
tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara, how are you?
Oh, hey, Christy.
Oh, hi, Jennifer. How you doing?
Everyone's still
Sounds like
sitting down so
Christy
you can
up
hear
there
who's talking
somewhere.
now.
Yeah, hi, Max.
Stop drinking, Christy. The coffee's gonna get to you.
Everyone stay well.
I know
Stay
who mine
safe.
is.
Everybody
Yeah.
stay well. That's
Yes.
Amen. Amen to
Great
that,
thought.
Jennifer.
Shabbat
Yeah.
shalom.
Where's the oneg? Oh, no oneg.
Hi, Rod. Do you have your cookie?
Maya. Here's your Maya.
We will.
Hey,
Hey,
Mark.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat
Shalom, Mark.
What happened?
I'm here.
Mark,
You just
thanks
don't
for-
see me. You just don't see me or
Great
hear
job,
me.
Mark.
But,
Thanks for your expertise,
Tomorrow.
Mark.
but
Your
I did.
MC tonight.
Thank
There
you.
he
So
is.
if you can make it to Tourist Day tomorrow morning, please do. 9
Yes.
o'clock.
Yes.
I've been studying all
We
week.
have our homework done.
Awesome. And I am going to end our Shabbat service now, everyone. So I just want to say Shabbat shalom. Have a good night.
Okay,
Shalom.
bye.
Shabbat
Bye,
shalom.
Barbara.
Bye.
Thank
Max, everybody.
Bye.